Hey there. All right. So in this video, we're going to be talking about whether you want to, how you determine whether you want to start your own business or you want to buy into a franchise business. And if you're not sure what a franchise is, I will explain in just a little bit. But we're going to be talking about the key questions. Again, going back to everything I've been saying, it's all about you and how you work and what your personality is like and how you operate, and all of that is ties into the kind of business that you are best suited for. So business ownership, start a business is good for some people, and buying into a franchise is good for some people. And I'll break down what the difference is, the pros and cons of each approach. Very high level, a franchise is basically a company that licenses its brand and proprietary information to another person so that person can go and use that license and proprietary information to start a business. So when you think about the most popular franchises would be like McDonald's. So McDonald's started originally as one store, and then somebody came in and said, I really want to do this in some other state. And McDonald's says, okay, sure. You pay me a flat fee to buy into the franchise. And then every month you pay me X% of your revenue. And when you do that, you are free to use my name and my brand and everything else that I have created to go operate a business in another location. So I'll talk about that. That's just super high level if you didn't know what franchising was, but I'll talk about it a little more in the next video. But so there are a bunch of things you want to think about if you're thinking about starting your own business or buying into a franchise. So the first thing, I will start with the pros of startup ownership. The best part of this is that you have total control. You have control over any and everything that happens in the business. You are the final authority. You are the leader of the entire business, and what you say goes, okay? So that's one of the biggest pros of owning your own business. Now, if you are someone that has challenges with following other people's lead, if you are someone that always has like a ton of ideas and you really need to implement those ideas, then starting your own business might be the way to go. When you start your own business, you make all the decisions for better or for worse, and you keep all the profits. You don't get to have to share any profits with the franchisor. You get to keep 100% of that. Now, the downsides to starting your own business are you have to create all your systems from scratch. All businesses run on systems. All successful businesses run on replicable systems. You want to have systems in place so that when you hire someone, you can literally just hand them the system and they run with it. So you have to create those systems if you want to grow and scale your business. So if you are starting your own business from scratch, you would be responsible for creating those systems. There is no community / anyone to turn to, and I saw this especially during the COVID era. Most of the businesses that closed were standalone businesses, were not part of a franchise company. The businesses that were part of a franchise family, they were stronger because they're stronger together. Like they had a group of people that they could turn to that were going through the exact same things that they were going through at the same time, and they were able to collectively think their way out of the whole COVID mess. So that's something to think about. Some people are fine standing on their own. They don't need nobody. They're like the Rock of Gibraltar all by themselves. So if this is the kind of person that you are, then starting a business from scratch might be good for you. There are limited financing options. Banks do tend to favor funding franchises over business startups, just because a franchise would have some history. The bank can look at the franchisor, The bank would be able to look at other franchisees to see how well they're doing and be able to base their decision off of that. But when you are a startup business, they have no history to go by. So financing could be challenging. And unfortunately, we do see the highest failure rate with startup businesses. But all of that being said, people have done it. You can do it. It's really all about who you are and your personality. When I started my business was a startup. I started Codewiz as a startup and then turned it into a franchise company where I am now offering franchises to people. And I can tell you it was the hardest thing I ever did in my life, in my entire life. So it is hard, but it is doable. You just need to understand if you are the kind of person that can actually see it from start to finish. Now, we'll talk about franchising really quickly. The pros of franchising is that there is a system in place, and for the most part, the system is proven. Now, this system's change from time to time, like COVID hit, and we have had to change our system. Our brand is young, and so there are some systems that are still developing. But for the most part, with a franchise, you're not just gonna come in and somebody hands you a logo and says go. If that's all they have to give to you, you might want to reconsider buying into that franchise. They should be able to hand you a blueprint for success, and then you go and build out your business based on that blueprint and improve on that. So you're not starting from scratch. It's certainly not turnkey. Turnkey is a very deceptive concept. There is no business that is turnkey. Even if you're buying into a business, it is not turnkey. There's stuff that you still have to do. The point would be that with franchising, you are given a blueprint, you're given a starting point, and so you're not starting from scratch. With franchising, there are people that you can talk to that have gone through that are in the business that you can reference their results and see if that is something that works for you. When you are looking at franchises, you would find that there are young brands and then there are older brands. So like I've heard Goddard puts all their locations, profit and loss statements for potential franchisees to see. But then there are some that are younger that are not able to share all of that data because the data could be misleading. You know, they could have two franchises that did so well, and then you think you're gonna do so well just based on those two people's results. So that is misleading. So they might choose not to share all of that information. I think when you're considering trying to decide between an older brand and a younger brand, it's really about, and I'll talk about this in another video, so I won't go into this now, but you have to decide if you want to go into an older system or a younger system, and there are pros and cons to that as well. There's a community of business owners that are in the exact same boat as you are, that are feeling whatever pain that you're feeling and are feeling whatever joys that you're feeling. So if community is important to you, then franchising is potentially the way to go. Now, the downsides of franchising is that one, there are many concepts to choose from. There's a lot. We have about 3,000 plus franchises in existence just in the United States, and a ton more in Canada and Australia. So there's a lot, and the UK. So there's a lot to choose from, and trying to sift through all of that and filter it down can be challenging. But if you go back to the previous videos where I talked about figuring out what your passions are, what your strengths are, what your goals are, if you are really clear on that, then it really makes it a lot easier to be able to filter through all the tons of options that are out there. You have to pay a franchise fee to the franchisor, and this is like almost like a one-time setup fee, if you want to put it that way, and it could range from $20,000 to $75,000. And then after that, you're gonna have to be paying a royalty. So royalties could range from 5% all the way up to 10% of your revenue per month. and this is your fee to the franchisor, continuing to pay them for licensing the brand and for all the support that franchisors provide to you. The whole point of franchising is that, you know, you have a community of people you can talk to, and you have a corporate system that has your back. And, you know, money funds that. So the franchisees do have to pay some money back to corporate to be able to fund that group support. And then the last cons is compliance and reporting. Because it is a corporate system with multiple locations, there is a requirement that everybody be in compliance. So, and this is where I think personalities start to diverge here. If you are someone that you don't like people telling you what to do, you have your own mind, you know exactly what you want and how you want it, then franchising might not be the place for you. So for example, you cannot buy into a franchise and decide that you want to change the logo. You cannot buy into a franchise and decide that you hate the color that they're asking you to paint the walls, right? You can't buy into a franchise and decide that the processes and systems that they've put in place are whack and you're gonna just do your own thing. You can't do that. So if you are somebody that really struggles with some degree of confinement, then franchising, buying into a franchise, being a franchisee is probably not a good fit for you. If you are somebody that just wants to roam free, unshackled, nobody checking in, nobody asking you to report back about, you know, your numbers, nobody saying, hey, what you have on the wall is not compliant with what we have set out in our brand standards, then franchising might not be the option for you. And it's important to say that there are brand standards and compliance requirements for a reason. If you have a franchise system and everybody just kind of goes off and does whatever it is that they want to do, then you really have no brand. Branding is all about consistency. So for the compliance exists in the franchise system because they want, the franchisor wants everyone to be consistent so that they have a stronger brand. And if there's a stronger brand, it provides more revenue for the franchisee. But for some personalities, it can feel like you're being shackled, you're being held down. And so if just the thought of being compliant and not being able to put all of your ideas into your business, the thought of having to check with somebody before you put in any of your ideas, and then the thought of having to report to someone what your numbers are, quarterly numbers, and talk about goals and whatnot, if that really bothers you, then franchising might not be the best option for you. I will share a resource on the DNA of top performing franchisees. And I think that after this, you might want to take a listen to that, because that really breaks down in very great detail and from somebody who has a ton of experience in this field, the 10 traits that every high performing franchisee has. And one of those traits is that you are systems oriented. You don't mind following systems. You are happy with systems. Yes, you can make suggestions to improve the system. You have lots of ideas of your own, but being able to be collaborative and systems oriented is huge in a franchise system. Okay, so this will probably be the longest video, but yeah, those are the things you should think about when you're trying to decide whether you want to start your own whether you want to start your own franchise. Oh my gosh, whether you want to start your own business or you want to franchise a business.